Jasmine Jasovizzi is here. Don't forget to tap into the Darce podcast.
The Darce choke is a submission executed from the front headlock position. It involves encircling the opponent's neck with the crook of one's arm, while the other arm wraps around the opponent's arm, applying pressure, leading to a tap or unconsciousness.
Tap into the Darce podcast.
And ladies and gentlemen, get your best stone face and bring the arrows because it's Python Fight Week, UFC 313. I'm here with my guys, Mr. Plus Money, Slick Montana, and Cal on the ones and twos. This is the Darce Podcast. I'm your host, Danny Brasco, and we're here to break down all your best UFC bets for an awesome fight card. Coming off an interesting one in Vegas, UFC Fight Night, where Manel Kape did his thing, but scraped the eye of Asu Almabayev, then knocked him out. Didn't mean to, but blatant eye poke gets the win nonetheless. We had a great battle between Esteban Ribovic and Nasrat Haqparast. Fellas, before we get into this awesome UFC 313 card, reactions to last week. Plus, what'd you think about that Ribovic-Haqparast fight? It was a close one. I thought Ribovic edged it out, and we lost some bets because of that. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Esteban won rounds 2 and 3. Maybe it was my biased bets mind speaking, as it normally is when I'm watching these fights. But I really think he did enough. Man, I will say schools were closed on Monday due to Hurricane Hyder. My goodness. I don't think I'm ever not betting on that guy ever in my life. I don't care who he's fighting.
Slick, dog of the week. And we all bought in big on him, and Hyder the Hurricane comes through for everybody. Let me see you guys in the chat if you were tailing that one, because he was a popular pick from the podcast, and I hope you guys cashed in. Slick, after the fight, it's reported that Hyder won with a torn bicep and a torn MCL. The guy is an animal, and he says he wants to fight in June. That's in 3 months. This guy is unhinged. What do you think of your boy Hyder?
Hey, man, we already know what this guy brings to the table. He actually had Gomes, one of the worst not the worst strikers, but one of the worst output guys out there. Actually have him fight. Actually have to have him put volume. But, man, that was just a vintage Hyder Amil performance, and he's just going to keep bringing us some more.
Let's go. Robbie Aguirre's in the chat. He said he cashed big on Sam Patterson with the knockout last week. That was a wild result. So we had some bangers last week, but on to this week, UFC 313. We're looking to cash big, man. Holy smokes. What a main event. What a co-main card is laced up with bangers. So let's kick off things. We got to talk about 3 fights. We got to jump all aboard the Mr. Plus Parlay Bus.
Mr. Plus, Parlay Bus, bet it all in trust. Jabs and hooks, it's all about the rush. Put it down on the underdog, never hush. Odds stack high, feel the thrill, that's a must. And I'll see you when that shit cashes.
Boys, this week on the bus, we're going for big money. And I don't just mean big money. I mean, we're going for basically 5-1. I got a plus 484 for you guys. Let's jump on the bus. Let's cash some tickets. And let's do it starting with leg number 1. My guy, Curtis Blaydes. This is a levels check, boys. I got to be honest. Anybody who's taken PEDs and performance enhancement substance, Rizvan Kuniev. I know he's got the V at the end of the name, but it's not an OV, it's an EV. I'm fading the Russian. Give me Curtis Blaydes by destruction. He can take him down. He can get back up if he gets taken down. I think his hands will be better. I think Curtis Blaydes can take this fight with the experience anywhere he wants to go. Give me stuttering Stanley, Curtis motherfucking Blaydes. Don't tell him I said that or he'll kill me. For leg number 2 on the bus, we're jumping right up to the co-main event. I took him last time they fought. Give me Justin Gaethje. Why is he a dog? I have no idea, but it is going to juice our plus up. Seriously, before this podcast, I just got done watching fight number 1, Justin Gaethje and Rafael Fiziev. Fiziev now coming in as a late, we had a scratch, right? So now he's coming in as a late replacement. Man's only got a week and a half notice, and he seems to be confident. I think it's overconfidence. Bro, you got beat the fuck up in the first round, in the first fight, and I think the same exact fight's about to play out when we see him on Saturday night. Don't get me wrong. Both these guys got insane leg kicks, and Fiziev, you could say, has the speed advantage. But what does Justin Gaethje have? The experience, the junkyard dog-ism. He's got that it factor, bro. He's going to be backflipping off the top of the cage and cashing in leg number 2 of the bus. I'll let the boys tell you more why once we run these fights back and everybody gets to talk about them. For leg number 3, to close out the bus, well, what do you think I'm at? I'm already at the fucking main event. I don't know if we're getting the drop right there, but I'll tell you. Sorry about that. Thank you, Cal, coming in hot. Listen, he's now minus 122. I don't think anybody's taking this belt. Not Ankalaev, not nobody. Give me Poatan, Alex Pereira to win this fight, to right this wrong. Why is everybody thinking this is a perfect matchup for him to lose? I don't see it. Ankalaev is nothing special to me. Alex Poatan Pereira needs to stay champion for the sake of the UFC, man. And in his last fight, we saw maybe his toughest bout yet against Khalil Roundtree. And what happened? Poatan in the later rounds got stronger when Khalil got weaker. I think this could be another repeat of that, man. Magomed Ankalaev into deep waters. I don't know what just happened to the guys in the team, but I'm here, and I'm going to tell you guys again, leg number 3, Poatan to cash the plus bus. Boys, where are we at here? I'll see y'all when that shit cashes.
Wow. Mr. Plus going with almost a 5-1 this week, plus 484 on the bus with a dog in there riding. So heck of a bus, co-main and main event picks involved. So Slick, holy smokes, we got a lot to talk about. Let's start with Curtis Razor Blaydes, who is fighting Rizvan Kuniev. And honestly, I see people making the case for Kuniev. I don't really get it. I know Blaydes is coming off a rough showing against Tom Aspinall and Sergey Pavlovich. He's been knocked out by power punchers like Derek Lewis, Francis Ngannou. Kuniev does not present the same power striking threat. He does apply pressure. He likes to punch his way into the clinch and grapple and grind and drag you down. But Blaydes is a talented wrestler. His boxing has only improved. His hands have gotten sharper. Even Aspinall said, caught him with that first punch. He said he's surprisingly rangy with his jab. So I think those straight punches will have the advantage. And I agree with Plus. Like, if he does get tangled up a little, he can get back up. We saw him turn the tides on Jailton Almeida, who I rate as a much more skilled and crafty and tricky grappler than kind of blob of a man in Kuniev. So Kuniev, although he got a first-round knockout in his last fight on Contender, he was kind of competitive with that guy for a round. I'm not that high on him. I like Blaydes. What do you think?
Yeah, this is a fight that I really compare to Shamil Gaziev going all the way up and fighting Rosenstrike. And this is just like Mr. Plus said, a level check more than anything. I really think some people are going to take Kuniev as a dog for the simple fact that his last name ends with EV. Because me personally, man, this guy is 2 different people than what we've seen from the Dana White Contender Series. Like, he got popped for PEDs, and now looking at his Instagram and stuff, for me, I think he's just comfortable in his own skin in the sense that he just doesn't really have to, he's a heavyweight, doesn't really have to trim down as much, so he's not really going all in on his conditioning. And I have to go with Curtis Blaydes in this spot, man. I just think Curtis Blaydes, we've seen him get out wrestled a little bit by Almeida, but Kuniev isn't that great of I would say great of an athlete. He's more of a push you against the cage, try to hit you with them devastating knees, get you tired, and then that's when he's able to really dictate the pace when he gets you tired. But one thing we know about Curtis Blaydes, if the fight goes all 3 rounds, we know he has the cardio. We've seen him knock out Almeida in the second round with those hammer fists. If anything, I have to take Curtis Blaydes in this spot. More cardio, more experience. And a lot of people say the chin is out there, bro. If you're getting knocked out by Sergey, Tom Aspinall, and Francis Ngannou, you can say that about anybody that doesn't have a chin. So at the end of the day, I'm going to go with Curtis Blaydes in the spot.
You know what I'm saying? Like, greater men have been knocked out by those kinds of guys. So I agree. I like the points you make for Blaydes. We all like Blaydes in this spot here. Just use that much, much higher level experience. Nick Frey says 5-1 plus bus all aboard, and he's loving the Gaethje's on the bus. Plus is going to the co-main event of the evening. Plus, before I go to Slick on his take, I'm going to talk more about this fight in the Brasco breakdown. So I'm going to tease mine a little. You'll get my take later. Let me get your method here. Do you think Gaethje takes a hard-fought decision again, like their first fight? How do you see it playing out?
Absolutely, exactly the same way. It might play out Identical. You're going to see the speed advantage in the first round by Fiziev, and you're going to see the experience that Gaethje, the junkyard dog, just put it on him. And you listen, some could argue that if Fiziev didn't land that knee at the end of round one in the last fight, it could have been easy 30-27. However, the knee did clip, and it really looked like that was the end of the first round, and they gave it to Fiziev. It made sense. Other than that, as far as that fight going on and on, Gaethje just got better and better and stronger and faster and cleaner, the fresher guy in round three. I think it's going to be the same thing. Gaethje by decision, maybe 29-28, maybe 30-27.
I like it. Slick, how are you seeing Gaethje versus Fiziev in the co-main? Now that Dan Hooker's out, broken wrist, bummer that we don't get that fight. Fiziev steps in on about 10 to 14 days notice. What do you think of the matchup in their second time around? Fiziev, the favorite.
Yeah, this is just weird because honestly, I would have thought that the odds would have been way in favor of Justin Gaethje for the simple fact that he was training for this day, has a full camp. You know, you got Fiziev coming off a torn ACL in that Gamrot fight. So at the end of the day, you know, he's been out a year plus. So this fight is just weird to me because at the end of the day, the fight has been moved to 3 rounds. And if anything, the fight always comes down to that second round. You know, Fiziev coming off that short notice, I mean, coming off that layoff, I got to think he's going to come out hot in the first round. And then in the third round is where we see Gaethje shines best at any third round, 3-round fight. So I really have a tough time, but I really lean towards the Justin Gaethje side in this spot. I think if anything, you got to trust the guy with the full camp, trust the guy. The one concern at the end of the day is, of course, he got knocked out, but like that was in the 5th round in the final 5 seconds of a fight. You know, like the one concern about in that fight against Max Holloway is that Justin Gaethje just looked a little bit slow in a lot of spots. You know, like a lot of his punches that we know Gaethje is, he eats one, and that counter punch that he gives you back is gonna be 3 times the power that you give him. But the one concern about this fight is if Fiziev lands that first punch and follows it up with combos, how is Justin Gaethje really going to react? You know, is his chin really going to hold up to the sense that at the end of the day, Fiziev is top 10 no matter what? You know, he's coming off that layoff. His only loss is to fucking Gamrot, and Gamrot, everybody thought Fiziev looked great before he tore his ACL, so MCL, whatever it was. Me personally, I got to lean on Gaethje with the experience. Of course, if Fiziev comes out there, knocks him out in the first round, because he did wobble Gaethje really hard in the first round, and Gaethje ended up weathering the storm, and then next thing you know, he won rounds 2 or 3. So I can see another scenario like that. But the one concern you also got to look at Gaethje, man, is if you really come out here and really, I mean, on the Fiziev side, if you really come out here, Justin Gaethje was smoking the fuck out of his leg with those calf kicks. And that's what Fiziev usually leans on. You know, he likes to throw that body kick to really start off his combinations. The next thing you know, you don't know what's going to come next with his kicking and his punches. So at the end of the day, I'm going to lean Gaethje. But, man, if he comes out there with first round really throwing those leg kicks, I think that would more than help him in that second and third round. So I lean Gaethje.
I lean towards Gaethje. Interesting stylistic breakdown of their first fight and what could we see in this fight from my guy Slick there. And man, plus immediately adding the main event into his plus bus. I gotta love it. We're getting pick'ems in the main event. I mean, Slick, Cal, it's time for the main event of the evening. We get it nice and early in this week's episode. Wow. Plus, how are they giving us minus 110 on Pereira going for his 3rd straight title defense? What do you make of this line before we get into the breakdown?
Yeah, and I just want to say, I know we got cut off a little bit before. I just want to say about this fight, and not even just this fight, about the plus bus in general. When you have a bus and you can put fighters on your bus and you get a fucking opportunity to throw Alex Pereira on your bus, you're gonna do it. You're fucking doing it. So that's why we're jumping all the way right to the main event. I ain't driving the bus without Pereira in it.
He's the conductor. He is on the gas because, oh my God, Slick, he's going for GOAT status at this point. He's doing things that have never been done, and he's doing it with class and style. In his last bout, maybe odds makers are seeing that his defense was penetrable and he was a little porous against Khalil Roundtree, right? Who was getting to him, who was competitive, who landed some big shots and almost compromised him. We'll say he was sick and coughing. You could hear like that kind of bronchitis, deep cough in the corner. He was taking the antibiotics, so maybe that compromised him a little bit. Still, the legend Pereira delivers an electrifying 4th-round knockout, devastating damage to Roundtree. Now, the narrative, Slick, is that Ankalaev will mix in his wrestling, the Dagestani, right? And he's got good boxing himself, good technical boxing. He was able to put that on display against Rakic in his last fight. The thing to me, Slick, is the narrative that Ankalaev could wrestle Pereira, and that's where he can be challenged in his wrestling defense. When has Ankalaev grappled anyone up in the UFC? When has he dominated someone with his wrestling for multiple rounds? He doesn't go to it in his game very often. So you're going to tell me that he's going to just come in here against the best guy in the division now who's mowing everyone down and either get into a technical striking affair with him and beat him or effectively wrestle him? That's something that's not really in your game. I don't see it, man. And he couldn't knock out Alexander Rakic with those straight left hands down the middle. Rakic has been chinned by Yuri and lesser guys, I would say. I don't think Pereira's getting knocked out by the straight left hands either. They're strong, they're sharp, but you want to get into a striking affair with Pereira, God bless. We saw that even Rakic, although it didn't compromise him, he beat up that lead leg of Ankalaev. It was reddened up, and Jan Blachowicz absolutely shut him down and sent him panicking with those low kicks. He was doing the chicken dance out there, flamenco status. Pereira's calf kicks, one of his best weapons, right? He uses those kicks and those feints to load the hook, too. It's so crafty. So, shit, man. You'd have to shoot me. You'd have to knock me out with a Poatan left hook to not make me bet on Alex Pereira this weekend. Absolutely betting him. Slick, what do you think? Are we getting tricked by the books here? Is this too good to be true?
I mean, at the end of the day, this is, like you said, this is all speculation because we never seen really Ankalaev really go in there in the first round and just completely have a whole wrestling game plan. Like, the only time that I've really seen him go to a whole wrestling game plan was in that 5th round against Blachowicz, and that was after his leg was damn near off the bone. That was where he would, like, for some reason, the judges gave him a 10-8 in that 5th round, and that 10-8 is not nowhere near a 10-8. Maybe because he out grappled him the whole round, damn near, but no damage or nothing was really sustained to Jan Blachowicz. And even if you go back, I know a lot of people going to that Jan Blachowicz fight. Even if you go back to Thiago Santos, when Thiago Santos was fighting Ankalaev, let's not forget that a guy at the tail end of his career in Thiago Santos knocked down Ankalaev. Not to mention, chewed up his legs, and Ankalaev just really had to just really be patient and just outstrike a guy like Thiago Santos, who's getting finished now with everybody and their mom in the PFL. So I got to go with Alex Pereira in this spot, man. There's not nothing. If you're telling me Ankalaev comes out here and really goes hard wrestling for all four or 5 rounds, because at any point if this fight is on the feet, there's going to be more and more opportunities for a guy like Alex Pereira. We know his coach is one of the best coaches in the world. When even if it comes to film study, the way to get that leg kick, start chewing up the leg and just hit Yuri with that that head kick was just something that you really have to really dissect in MMA. And, man, I have to go with Alex Pereira. Magomed Ankalaev comes out here and does something that nobody has ever done. Because one thing that we know, Alex Pereira, was that before coming up to 205, was that he was a chinny guy. You know, he got knocked out by Izzy. But now at 205, man, his chin looks better than ever. He got rocked by Khalil Roundtree, but it wasn't nothing that, like, his eyes rolled back or nothing. He got knocked, was able to recover probably within the next 10, 15 seconds, and was going right back at Roundtree. So like I said, Magomed comes out here and wrestles, does something that we never seen him do in his whole career, then, hey, take my money. But Alex Pereira, and still.
Absolutely how I feel. Take my money if you're going to do it to him, because no one's been able to yet, and I think his legend just continues to grow. Poatan! No way I'm betting against him, man. He's getting it done again. Also, should mention, he's been fighting nerds ahead of this camp. He's doing grappling work with them. So, little fighting nerds. Pereira, I mean, he's cerebral. He's not just a menacing striker. He's so intelligent now. And my homie used to be a pro boxer, who I chat with all the time. He says that Pereira has mastered self-belief. He thinks that his self-belief is at an all-time high. And when you feel you believe in yourself, you can achieve anything. And it seems to be the case, right? So, wow. Poatan,
boys, go back and look at Ankalaev's rap sheet. Go look at his record. Go look at the people he's fought. Who's his best win? Johnny Walker? Volkan Ozdemir? Bro, Nikita Krylov in 2021, because it wasn't Ayan Kutalaba or Dalcha Lamgubula, okay? He's got some fucking fish on his record, and he's never fought anybody that's even near the stratosphere of Alex Pereira. And if you ask me, Ankalaev is jumping the line. Bro, you got to go through Yuri first. You got to beat up Jamal Hill. You got a lot of more shittier guys to get through than that aren't even shitty, but better guys than anyone on your record before you get to Poetan. Are you kidding me? He begged for this fight, and now he's gonna fucking pay for it.
Let's go, Poetan. It is funny. I'm looking at Ankalaev's record. I'm like, man, he wasted a lot of time doing 2 fights with Jan Kutalaba and 2 fights with Johnny Walker. Like 4 fights of what? Like that's randomness. But onward we march up the card. We have a lot more fights to talk about. UFC 313. Thank you, everyone that's in the chat right now. Smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Keep firing away your thoughts in the chat, and we'll answer your questions if you have any. Next segment. Put your hands together, guys, because it's time for the Brasco breakdown.
Brasco's breakdown. Brasco's breakdown.
Whoop! Plus, spitting the bar on top of that. Lay a verse on top of my intro. Let's go for the Brasco breakdown. I'm bringing something that we've already talked about. Plus, set it off. Slick gave great points as well. Give me Justin the highlight Gaethje. Plus 136 is wild to me. And really, it comes down to this for the handicap, I think. In large part, the market is down on him after a devastating KO loss to Max Holloway, right? If you think of Justin Gaethje, if you say that name out loud right now, the first thing that comes into your mind is him laying down there bloodied, face down on the canvas, right? But consider that in the very first round of that fight, he took a spinning back kick to the nose, busted his nose open, and fought the rest of the entire fight with a completely shattered nose. Throughout the fight, he was delivering damaging low kicks to Holloway's lead leg. Not everyone can walk through Justin Gaethje low kicks like Max Holloway. So the lasting image of that fight is Holloway just absolutely beat the crap out of him. But Gaethje walked through a lot of damage and landed some mean low kicks. And if he has his chin still, which I'm going to wager that he does, 10 months off, long recovery, if he's back in normal Gaethje and he can take a punch because he's going to get hit. He got hit in that first Fiziev fight. If he can take Fiziev's best shot, I think that he can be that old Gaethje. I agree with Mr. Plus. He can do the things he did in that first fight. Use that low kick again to slow Fiziev down, who will have the speed advantage, who will be the swifter fighter, but slow him down and start to take over with that jab and that low kick in that second and third round. And maybe even put on them wrestling boots, Justin. We've always heard about his wrestling skill, right? But he never uses it in fights because he wants to put on a show and deliver banger after banger. Maybe, like he did in the very end of their last fight, just to stamp the round and secure it, he shoots a takedown and looks to keep Fiziev down a little bit. I know all the question marks are about Gaethje's health coming off the knockout, but what about Fiziev's health? Like Slick mentioned, coming off an ACL tear. He's been out of the cage for 18 months. What if he has some ring rust coming back in, right? You're facing Justin Gaethje. What if he's attacking that leg and he compromises something that's been repaired from that ACL tear, right? And all of a sudden he's out there on one leg. So I'm not so sure that there are question marks not answered for Fiziev that shouldn't worry him, that shouldn't make him the underdog here, who's coming in on less than 2 weeks' notice. Meanwhile, Gaethje, full camp preparing for war with Dan Hooker. Gotta believe that he's good to go and ready for action. If the chin is there and old Gaethje's there, I think he's got one more in the tank at least at a high level. Give me Justin the highlight Gaethje. I agree with Mr. Plus by another hard-fought decision. Let's go, boys. Any final reactions, Plus, Slick, to Justin Gaethje?
Yeah, I just want to say that if you look at Justin Gaethje's resume, he's only lost to the cream of the crop, the tip of the top, baby. Khabib, Olives, Max Holloway in the last seconds, although Holloway was winning the fight, so he was going to win the fight anyway. However, Fiziev, when they fought, Justin beat his ass. Now he's coming back. It's short notice. Let's not forget. I think this is a no-brainer. I think the line is way off. Just like Danny just said, we're getting a gift at plus money thanks to Max Holloway, what he did last time. But yeah, 10 months, the chin's there, the highlight's there. Don't forget who he beat right before that L. He kicked Dustin Poirier in the head, knocked him out cold. That's a huge victory. Fiziev, right before that knee injury was getting your ass kicked by Justin Gaethje. I think this is going to be a world of trouble for him again. Give me the highlight all day.
Let's go. And Slick, that knockout of Poirier, I wasn't lucky. That wasn't just a random shot. That was the same side head kick. Right hand, right high kick over the top. Tricked him with that attack. What do you think? Gaethje, last thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, this is going to come down to that second round. We've seen Fiziev in a lot of his fights lose that third round consistently. I think Justin Gaethje, like I said, the leg kicks add up. And if Justin Gaethje starts throwing them early, it's definitely going to play dividends.
Let's go. I love that we all like it. Hopefully he comes through for us. Books making him a dog. I mean, he's a popular-ass fighter. I don't care if he got knocked out cold his last fight. People are going to bet him. So the odds on this card are a little bit peculiar, right? Like Pereira, so battable, Gaethje, a dog. Hopefully we're not getting led into the trap, but I like it. You know, like we say, we just bet the fight in front of us, right? And that's the odds that we like. All right, guys. That was a Brasco. Oh, little false start, 5-yard penalty, Cal. Next up, we got salute to the Slick Report.
Philly in the game, and you know we on time. Slick reports coming, ain't never gonna stop. And I'm make captains with the knowledge and the flow. From the East Coast, getting that paper like a Philly bankroll. Rocking every fight, keep the audience on hold.
Go for it, Slick. What do we got this week?
Yeah, so we're going. Originally, I had Ignacio Bahamondes over Jalen Turner, but there's some speculation, a lot of rumors, hard rumors out there that Turner is out of this fight and Tom Nolan is stepping in. So maybe if you get like good even odds on like under -150 on Bahamondes over Tom Nolan, then I would take that. But we're going with another dog, but this time we're going with a girl. A lot of times, I really give like close to even money or close to like, -150 around there. But this time I'm riding all aboard and we're going to the plus side. We're going with Amanda Lemos money line in this spot. At the end of the day, man, this is just a fight that I believe Lucendo has just gotten Lemos too soon in her career. She's fighting girls that she has been able to get her takedowns on. But I think the way that she shoot her takedowns, I mean, not shoot, but the way she's able to get her takedowns is just a recipe for disaster against a girl like Lemos. Lemos is the type to really step back and counter you whenever you're entering. And Lucendo, I understand she's on a good win streak, but a lot of her takedowns are body lock takedowns. And I think, like I said, that's just a recipe for disaster because you have a lot of girls that fight Lemos. They try to get on the outside. Whenever Lemos gets overly aggressive with her strikes, she's real reliant to get double-legged or single-legged. But that's not Lucendo's game, man. She has to get close. She has to get into that range with Lemos. And I just think Lemos is going to, like, this is a fight that I lean back to the Dern fight because if this fight ends up being a back-and-forth brawl, best believe I'm taking Lemos 9 times out of 10. She is the hardest hitting strawweight we have ever seen. And that's saying something because at the end of the day, she lost to a girl in Weili. But let's not forget, whenever that fight was on the feet, she was landing big punches on Weili. Weili was wrestling for the life of her in that fight. And at the end of the day, I think Lemos has only lost to high-level wrestlers. I think Lucendo is a great MMA girl, a good all-around girl with her striking and her wrestling. But we've seen in that Yasmin Haregi fight that if you're able to stuff a couple takedowns, she will get in those back-and-forth brawls with you. If she's able to really trust her chin in this spot, I think that's a bad thing to really think about a girl like Lemos we have seen hurt some of the best girls out there. If we look at that Mackenzie Dern fight, a lot of people look at that 29-28. But aside from her getting grappled and just laid on, if we look at damage over control, she won that fight 30-27. She has some of the best power in this division. And I just can't trust Lucendo to really come in there. She has fought girls like Karolina Kowalkiewicz, girls like Polyana Viana, girls like Brogan Walker. Those girls have nowhere near, and I mean with much respect to those girls, nowhere near the amount of power that we have seen from a girl like Lemos. So I have to take Lemos in the spot. At the end of the day, Lucendo could lose this fight and still have high hopes. Me personally, I really compare this fight to the Brandon Royval versus Tatsuro Taira fight. At the end of the day, you're gonna be in there. You could be there with the top of the top, but it's just a little bit too early in your career. We're talking about her going from Karolina Kowalkiewicz and freaking Brogan Walker to Amanda Lemos. Like, we only see Amanda Lemos lose to girls that will hold her down for damn near close to 12, 15 minutes of a 3-round fight. Wei Lee held her down for like 17, 18 minutes. I just don't think the way Brogan Walker shoots, well, not even shoots, goes for her takedowns, I think it's a recipe for disaster for a girl like Lemos. So give me Lemos, man. I think this underdog price is really, really good for her.
Wow, Amanda Lemos, another dog here. And honestly, I was struggling with this fight, but I feel like you just put me on the other side of the fence of Lemos. Because the main thing, Mr. Plus, glaring at me, I was thinking, like Slick said, such a dangerous striker, was just fighting for the title against Wei Lee, competitively, like you mentioned. Yet she's a dog just 2 years later against Lucinda. Why? Glaring thing on the page that jumps off, she's 14 years older than her. Lucinda, 23 to Lemos is 37. But like Slick said, Lucindo coming off a fight against Marina Rodriguez, good competitive split decision win. And the other fights, like he mentioned, Brogan, Walker, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, is a huge step up. So do you think that she deserves to be the favorite? And what do you think of the matchup?
Normally, with an age gap this big, I am leaning younger fighter, but I'm going to agree with Slick that she's a little too young. The Yasmin Lucindo, this is a little too early in her career. It's kind of like an Amanda Lemos versus a way younger version of herself, I'm talking early version. So. Yeah, I think Lemos is definitely the better pick here. She's got the value on her side from a betting standpoint. I'm definitely liking the plus money. The only two things that scare me, number one, is Yasmin Lucindo's traps, and number two is gotta be that Verna Jandronova is Yasmin Lucindo's training partner. That being said, that's the girl who just kind of whooped Amanda Lemos' ass, but let's be honest, Verna's on her way up the charts as well, and she just looked different that day. I'm going to side with Amanda Lemos, the value and the plus money.
Great points there, though. So maybe Lucindo's got the game plan, but yeah, you can't fight, Jandronova can't fight the fight for her. And man, Jandrova's got some of those lethal arm bars in the division. But Slick, what do you think? You wanted to add something as well?
Yeah, and I would just have to say that, I'll add. Like I said earlier, Verna Jandronova shoots double legs. She shoots singles legs. She's a good all-around wrestler when she really goes into it. Like, if Lucindo comes in here and shoots double legs and single legs, something that we have never seen from her career. She's just sometimes stronger than a lot of the girls. Like you said, she's fighting girls at the tail end of their careers. Lemos, outside from her losing to two of the best girls from in the division, she's damn near rinsing everybody. Lucindo goes to a decision where Rodriguez, Lemos smokes her. She smokes Mackenzie Dern, a way more decorated grappler than Lucindo. Like I said, if she comes in here and does some Khabib-like shit, like Wei Lee, take my money. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go with the more damage over control in Lemos.
Let's go. Nick Frey is with you. So like he said, sportsbooks continue to undervalue veterans against up-and-comers. Lemos controls this fight. And Jeff Hatley asked, Bruno Ferreira plus 120 dog this week. What do you guys think? Well, we'll get to that one, Jeff, in our Dogs of the Week, which is coming up right now. It's time for the Dogs of the Week. And plus, we talked about the co-main plenty, but your dog of the week, Justin Gaethje. Last thoughts?
Oh, no brainer. We're nothing new here, boys. We're taking Gaethje. We're taking plus money. It's a gift. It's a gift from the gambling gods this weekend. And just to touch on that, Brasco said, "Are we being walked into the fire?" Ooh, I mean, sometimes the books will hold your hand right to the fire, right, and then push you in head first. I don't think so. I think this is a week we can get some of our money back, especially me from last week, and I had a pretty rough weekend on the books.
Well, look, I tried to be sharp when Jamal Hill was like a pick'em slight dog, plus 100, right, against Pereira, and that wasn't sharp at all. He knocked him out cold, right? And then they made him basically the same against Yuri. Again, after he already did his thing, I said, okay, I'll take it. I learned my lesson after trying to be sharp one time, right? And they're doing it again. So, like you said, there's Sean O'Malley was a dog against Aljamain Sterling, right? Everyone and their mother bet O'Malley. He's plus 200. Knocked him out cold. Tom Brady was an underdog. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Everyone and their mother bet him. They won the Super Bowl. It happens sometimes. Francis Ngannou, underdog. Cyril Gane. I can name so many. Dogs of the week. Slick, yours was Lemos, but your breakdown was on Lemos. Do you have any other underdogs that you wanted to bring up, maybe interested in?
At the end of the day, man, it's not like I seen some dogs that I was looking at, but I know it might be controversial. I was looking at Ozzy Diaz, but I'm not really willing to bank on a guy like Ozzy Diaz. So maybe throw like a quarter unit on Ozzy Diaz. I might do it on some just degen shit. But I was looking at Chris Gutierrez as well, but I'm not just trusting the guy that only throws leg kicks for 3 rounds. So
yeah, the leg kick merchant. I'm interested in Diaz too, man. I think the Jordan, like you said, it's going to be tough. Don't wager a lot, but the Jordan Santos, I wasn't that impressed in his win against the guy who had just had nothing for him, just no defense on Contender Series. So Diaz fought Pfeiffer, and he got smoked by Joe Pfeiffer and smoked by Ming Yang Zhang. I mean, no shame in that. Maybe they give him a winnable matchup here. I'm not mad at a Diaz dog shot. But let me get to Jeff Hatley's question. Bruno Ferreira, plus 125. Jeff, I absolutely love Ferreira as a dog. And I bet against him in his last fight against Abus Magomedov. I was sweating, man. He had Abus hurt a couple times. Abus had to put the wrestling boots on, get him on the mat, and that's where he finished him. But Ferreira should have no such threat against Armen Petrosyan, a kickboxer, right, who's coming off that double spinning back fist knockout loss to Shara Pirate. And that was just 4 months ago. I know it was a pretty competitive fight before that. Petrosyan definitely going to be the more technical kickboxer in this matchup. And he's good, man. He's skilled. He's dangerous. But I just feel like Ferreira can create chaos. He can land some crazy shit, right? Like a wild spinning elbow or some overhand looping punch. Maybe even he can mix in some grappling and some takedowns. I just think that if he makes it crazy, he can find a blow that compromises Petrosyan, who is coming off 2 back-to-back stoppage losses. I wonder where his confidence is at right now. So maybe he pieces Ferreira up and shows him that he doesn't belong with his kind of technical caliber striking. But if Ferreira makes it crazy, it's his fight. So give me Bruno Ferreira. And Cal says, I'll be betting Petrosyan live if the spot presents itself. So I'm interested to hear what you guys think. Plus, how do you see this fight?
What's crazier than a double back fist knockout? I'll tell you, the way that Bruno Ferreira fights, that's crazier. Dude's a bat out of hell. He's going to be swinging away for the fences. And listen, I get it, Cal. I see where you're at. If Petrosyan could take this into deep waters, I could see maybe a round 3 finish just based on the fact that Bruno will gas out. However, I don't think it ever gets there. You're coming back from the double back fist highlight reel knockout in 4 months. I just, I don't see it. I get it. Abus got the submission 4 months ago. Getting knocked out and getting submitted are 2 completely different worlds. And I just think that coming back from a knockout after 4 months is way too soon, especially against a knockout artist like Bruno. I'm looking for the big moment. I love the plus money there. Dude's a freak of nature. Give me the Hulk smash. I love when he does that shit at the end and jumps up. I feel like the octagon's going to actually crater when he does the Hulk thing at the end. He does the Bruno Hulk smash. Give me that, bro. I'm taking Bruno all day plus money.
Yeah, and Cal's doubting the double spinning. I mean, he didn't get knocked out cold, but the ref immediately stepped in. He was dazed and confused out there. Nonetheless, though, he is coming off that. And Slick, I wonder why the books made Ferreira an underdog here. Another one that feels a little trappy to me, but I'm taking the shot anyway because he's going to be popular, I think. What do you think of Ferreira?
This is just a fight I want nothing to do with, honestly, because for me personally, I really compare this fight to the Marquez versus fucking Cody Brundage fight last week, because you really just don't know what the fuck's going to happen in this fight. Like, you got Bruno Ferreira, who's, if he gets this fight down to the ground, probably one of the most opportunistic sub guys that I've seen coming into the UFC. Like, he jumps any type of submission he's able to get. And then on the feet, we just know what the fuck he's going to bring into this fight. Pure violence in this spot. And Petrosyan, for me, sometimes I say he plays it too safe. Like he waits, and he always tries to get his offense going when the guy is done their offense. But the thing about Ferreira is he's more of a counter guy. But if he gets you with that counter, the way he follows up and the way he's able to, I understand Phil Hawes doesn't have a chin, but the way he was able to crack Phil Hawes and just follow up with that ground and pound, Man, just goes to show you this guy is something to deal with. I probably take this fight to not go the distance. If I had to pick for the podcast, I would probably have to lean Bruno Ferreira in this spot. Me personally, I'm probably gonna bet him by KO rounds 1 or 2, because if this fight gets to that third round, this guy breathes harder than me after 15 handball games. Like I'm over there dead, but I call my wife to come pick me up or something because I can't drive. I'm dead. This guy cardio is probably some of the worst I ever seen in the third round. So this fight gets to the third round and you got Bruno Ferreira ticket. You just gotta hope and pray and hope he could last to that second round. I mean to the end of the belt, because I think he could win this fight all around. I think he could win it by sub. I think he could win it by KO. And if this fight, I think he could bank at least the first 2 rounds in this spot. So I'll lean Bruno Ferreira, but I like the fight to not go the distance, if anything.
Yeah, man. We have seen him fatigue later in the fight, but he throws everything in those first 2 rounds. Maybe he's been working on the cardio, building it. Looked a little better in his last fight because he brings a crazy pace. But yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Petrosian definitely going to have to stay safe and keep it more technical.
And you also got to think about it. That Abus Magomedov fight was all around grappling when it wasn't. This is going to be all around striking. So, he probably will gas, probably won't. Who knows?
Here we go. That's why we're taking the shot. All right, guys. We got our dogs of the week. Plus going Gaethje. Love it. Slick going Lemos. Like it. And I'm going Ferreira. Leaning towards it in an interesting fight. All right, y'all. Let's come together. Let's lace them up for a Darce parlay. And this week we got plus 144. We're starting off with a prelims fight. Slick, you're the first leg. Take it away.
Yeah, we're going with a good up-and-comer, man. We have to watch out for this guy if he wins this fight. We're going with Myron Santos over Francis Marshall. Me personally, watching tape on these two guys, I really think Myron Santos win this fight 9 times out of 10. Being that one going to Francis Marshall, being that if he could hold Myron Santos against the cage for all 14 minutes in this fight. And I say all 14 because even in that 1 minute, Francis Marshall is as hittable as they come. We seen in his Dennis Bazooka fight, his last fight, he did take the fight on short notice. But at the end of the day, it helped him in his favor because the fight was at lightweight. So he really didn't have to cut much weight. And he was able to dominate that first round against Dennis Bazooka. I don't think he's going to be able to do that against a guy like Myron Santos. That he just hit, the way he's able to just be more composed than anything in that fight against Conor Offley in the Ultimate Fighter. He has way more experience in this spot. I think this is a great spot for a guy like Santos to really put a good name in his spot. Francis Marshall isn't a bum, but like I said, man, Dennis Bazooka was catching him with some great hooks in that second and third round. He only won that second round because he knocked down Dennis Bazooka, but the way Dennis Bazooka was just able to put it on him in that at the later half of that second round and in that third round just gives me huge concerns. But Myron Santos isn't one of those guys that has all 14 of his wins by first round knockout. He has good decision wins, has good competition on the regional scene, and I just think he's destined for greatness in this featherweight division. So give me Myron Santos money line.
Myron Santos. I actually watched the season of The Ultimate Fighter. It kind of sucked. I was one of the only people that watched it because the show kind of sucks now. But Santos, by far, was kind of the most impressive guy to me, Slick. And his fight results weren't the most impressive. He had a split with a guy who, like you said, held him up against the fence, tested his wrestling defense. But when his talent is on display, he's serious, man. He's got thudding low kicks. He's got granite in his fist. He's got, like you mentioned, great poise and stance and just kind of posture on the feet. And man, if he's working that grappling defense and keeping it standing, I think he pieces Marshall up. Mr. Plus, that's how I see the only concern against Santos, who's a 3-1 favorite, is if he gets wrestled a little bit. But I don't know if Marshall can really do that. What do you think?
On the fence with this fight, I think the line's a little off. The fact that Santos is such a big favorite kind of scares me. However, I think he's the right side. Although Francis Marshall, man, Jersey kid, definitely a dog fighter. This kid will go out and try and fight for your money, that's for sure. We did see him take a couple bad L's, though. The split decision to Gomi is not looking horrible, but the Dolgarian KO, that happened. I remember being on the Francis Marshall side, and I just wasn't happy with it. He got that split decision in his last fight. But yeah, this is definitely, I mean, this is definitely a step up for Marion Santos. And I think he can get the job done for us. I'm really hoping he does. If he comes out like he fought Con Offley in the end of the season victory there, I think he can beat almost anybody in this division, right? But it's you know, that being said, uh these guys are physically exactly the same. Same reach, same height, same weight, same everything. Man, it's really going to come down to who wants it more. And I'm hoping that Santos is our guy. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, man. Cal says Marshall is the male version of Andrea Lee. What a random comparison.
Ouch.
That's
That's painful.
out there, man. I like Santos, man. He's physical with his striking. He's just like, and he doesn't gas. He looks to have some of the intangibles and the raw talent that's making a good fighter. I'm kind of high on him. I'm with Slick. So I like the leg there. Next leg is Mr. Plus. Your turn, sir.
Wow, Andrea Lee, that is motherfucking oof. What a painful fucking comparison from Cal.
Who just got kind of washed by JJ Aldrich.
Right? Leg number two. She totally did. Leg number two on the Darce. Let's cinch up a dub for our people here. We're going with Joshua Van. Man, this is just a dangerous striker versus Ray Tsutsara. I don't like this guy. He's got one UFC victory, and it's a decision over Carlos Hernandez. His other wins were on the road to UFC. A lot lower caliber, nothing close to what he's going to see against Joshua Van. Joshua Van's got those hands, man. Although we saw him get knocked out with the uppercut by our guy, Charles Johnson, Inner G, he came and bounced back heavy with that win over Edgar Chavez and then another win over Cody Durden, who's another junkyard dog. So when you're beating up guys like that, man, I think this Ray Tatsuyara is going to be a walk in the park. I'm butchering it on purpose because fuck this guy. Fuck his emo haircut. It's time to wake the fuck up to some Joshua Van hands, boy, and he is going to beat the shit out of him. It's probably going decision like they normally do, but Joshua Van, give me the violence over some fucking grappler. Fuck that.
Mr. Plus vehemently against Ray Tsuruya, the 10-0 young grappler. But, I mean, he said it, man. You beat guys like Durden and, tricky guys who can mix in some tricky grappling. It's like I think that he's going to be able to handle Tsuruya's grappling. Tsuruya was in a pretty competitive back-and-forth fight with Carlos Hernandez, who is a pretty solid flyweight veteran. But, man, Hernandez won that third round, was starting to beat him up. Tsuruya can't take Van to the mat and hold him down, which I don't see happening for multiple rounds. I think he's going to be in trouble on the feet. I think Van could knock him out, maybe hunt him down, slow him down with some low kicks, and then put him up against the fence and just deliver those nasty combos, work the head and work the body. What do you think about Van? Do you think he's going to take us home in this spot?
Yeah, I actually have Van in a parlay. And I told myself, man, that if this fight ends up being like close to fight night and Van is still minus 200, I have to throw like 5-10 units on her money line because me personally, Ray Tsuruya has showed me zero to little things that prove to me that he's going to come out there and out wrestle Van for, I would say, 2 rounds, because even in the third round, Van is just going to get better and better and better till that third round comes. And next thing you know, if Joshua Van, Ray Tsuruya is in that same predicament that he found himself Carlos Hernandez. Joshua Van doesn't play that grappling game. He's not going to go into your guard and you're going to hope for survival. He's going to tell your ass to get up. And when you get up, you're going to get beat the fuck up. And that just goes to show, like we've seen in his last fight, Cody Durden, I would say more relentless wrestler than Ray Tsuruya. Ray Tsuruya is more of a crafty guy. He tries to get you with those trips. He tries to get you, like whenever you're off balance. And that's when he's able to get. Me personally, I love Van in this spot because one hypothetical reason that I have in my head, the UFC has granted Joshua Van finally after 7-8+ fights to have his Maynard flag from his country, to actually have it on his walkthrough. Me personally, I don't believe in stuff like that, but I think that's going to give him 10 times more confidence, knowing that he's been talking to the UFC time and time again after this fight. I mean, after his fights, to get the flag going, able to hold his flag coming into the UFC, and finally the UFC is able. I think he's going to hold the pressure from the Maynard flag. I think he's going to prove to his people proud in this fight. So I think Joshua Van gets like a second or third round knockout, a vintage Joshua Van performance.
Let's go. And Slick, I actually already put this out, but I put out 2 units on Van at minus 198. I did that at Cop minus 205 last week, and I was like, honestly, this seems like value. Like, I'm mad that I didn't put 10 units on Cop. I might have to go heavier on Van because I agree. 2-1 isn't a big favorite enough. I told and the Myanmar flag. I wonder why they don't let him walk out with the Myanmar flag thus far. But that's kind of a low key, a great angle from Slick. Like the pride of his people on his back. You saw what Holloway did for Hawaii Fight Night, right? He put out Korean Zombie in an iconic knockout. Like these guys want to throw down for their country with the flag on his back. It could be a highlight reel situation. So loving Joshua Van plus leg for the Dars. And let's break it up. Let's bring it home with, I think, a locky favorite, guys. It's time for a fighting nerd. I wish I had glasses on me. It's Mauricio Rufy, guys. I mean, minus 470. I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that as a parlay leg. Who's facing King Green? I saw a few of you guys asking about this in the chat. Does King Green have a chance? Honestly, he's 38 years old now, and he's got the slick, unorthodox boxing style with the hands low, firing those snappy, straight punches from the hips, right? Using the shoulder rolls, using the head movement. His speed is just declining to a point where if you're facing like elite strikers, I can't trust that hands low defense anymore. It's slightly all you need is one mistake to not really roll a shot properly or kind of let one get through. And against a guy like Rufy who can use his kicks at range too, set everything up, I just don't see how Green is going to effectively establish his jab and then set up a boxing affair at mid-range. Like how is he really going to get that done? He's coming off not too long ago that brutal knockout to Jalen Turner where I took Jim Miller the next fight thinking his chin was gone. Miller dropped him in the first round, but looked good against Miller, and then just got absolutely rinsed by Paddy Pimblett. I took a shot on him there too, and Pimblett made me look like an absolute idiot. So I'm out on Green. I think his best days are behind him. I think Rufy is sensational. He can throw all sorts of attacks. It's the fighting nerds, baby. What more do I need to say? Plus, Mauricio Rufy, what a stud.
Fighting nerds all day. 10-year age gap here. King Bobby Green, whatever the fuck his name is now, on the end of his career. Man, they are feeding him to the wolves with this Mauricio Rufy. You want to talk about a guy who could put your fucking lights out. He's one of them. Just watch. They're going to stand up. Bobby Green's going to do his hands down thing. And I think it's going to be the worst decision ever. Let's not forget the Jamie Malarkey flying knee into punches, fight over. I think it could be similar. I think we could see Bobby Green walking in, no hands up. It could be a flying knee, couple more punches, and the ref stops the fight. This is going to be a round 1 or 2 KO for Rufy here all day.
It's like I see some sharps making the case for Green. The line is too wide. What do you think about that one?
I honestly, me personally, watching this fight when it got announced, I thought Rufy was going to come out like minus 700, minus 800 in this spot because this is just the perfect spot for him because King Green, whatever the fuck his name is now, like this guy is just so reluctant on his defense. And that's going to be a pause for concern against a guy like Rufy because King Green anticipates the shots not really going all the way to his chin. But guys that he has fought that are good power punchers, he's been cracked like there's no tomorrow. Like, let's not forget, this is a guy that got knocked out by Drew Dober looking perfect until he didn't. Got knocked out by Jalen Turner. God knows if he even still fucking good after that. And then he fights an old man, Jim Miller, who we know is nowhere near the type of striker of Bobby Green. And Bobby Green outstruck him. And then he fights Paddy Pimblett. I don't know if he shot a takedown or not, but that was probably one of the most stupidest decisions ever. If he got off balance and Pimblett got that guillotine, props to him. But I really think Rufy, one thing that I've seen in Bobby Green's tape is, man, he's so reluctant to the left hook or even the left cross or whatever you think about him. Rufy throws good 1, 2, 3s, and I think that's going to be the dividend for this fight. Jab, left cross. I think he puts out Bobby Green. Let's not forget, this is Bobby Green's 50th fight. 50th.
Oh my goodness. 50th pro fight. Yeah, five's the big 5-0 might go out with a big KO. So there we go. Darce parlay. Myron Santos, Joshua Van, Mauricio Rufy. I feel great about that. Plus 144 on that, boys. Let's cash it. All right, guys. Only a couple fights to discuss left. It's time for the ones we haven't talked about and the honorable mentions. First fight of the night, and Slick brought it up. Jordan Santos versus Ozzy Diaz. Potential underdog shot for Slick. I kind of like it too for Diaz. Plus 160 on Ozzy Diaz. You think he has a shot here?
Yeah, I might be throwing a little money at the dog, maybe half unit or a unit to kick it off. I think this is the second fight of the night. Ozzy Diaz, kind of like him. DeJordan Santos, just not proven enough for me to be taking him as a favorite or putting him on any parlays. Easy skip, dog, or pass for me.
It's not delivery. It's DeJordan Santos. Slick. Ozzy Diaz in the spot. Any last thoughts?
Throw a little sprinkle on Ozzy. At the end of the day, it's the second fight on the card, I believe. So throw a little sprinkle on Ozzy.
I think he's got a shot, man. I think he's got a shot. Next fight that we haven't talked about, this is a late ad. Chris Gutierrez is the underdog, minus 102 against John Castaneda, minus 118. Castaneda was supposed to fight last week, right, against Douglas Da Silva Andrade. That fight was off. He was a big favorite in that one. Now he's basically pick'ems with Gutierrez, the leg kick merchant, like Slick mentioned. I mean, Gutierrez is a good fighter, but that's really his main weapon. He just low kick after low kick and movement on the feet. He doesn't really get his boxing going all that much. He's highly skilled, but I think Castaneda could mix up his game a little more. I am surprised to see him as the favorite. Gutierrez fought some really good fighters, got a decision with guys like Song Yadong, right? So he's tough. He can last, but I don't know. Castaneda might just bring the fight a little more. Plus, how do you see this one?
You know, I was a bigger Chris Gutierrez fan a while back. He was really on his way up. Remember when he was fighting Pedro Munoz? And he just felt like, wow, man, if he can come out and win this fight, he's going to go to the upper echelon of his division. But he didn't. But he did go to a decision with him, but he didn't get the dub. And that's kind of really like where it felt like the downward spiral started happening. Although he got a couple more wins, all decisions, by the way. Like you just said, went to decision with Song Yadong. I think this is a winnable fight for him against John Castaneda. John Castaneda is going to have to kind of, like I talked about last week, a little bit of lay and pray, man. And if he doesn't do that and can't hold Gutierrez down, I think those leg kicks are going to be damaging. I kind of like Chris at even money here, but I didn't make a bet on it yet. But I kind of like Gutierrez.
I think I would parlay the fight to go the distance, but it's probably going to be minus $1 million because this fight is definitely going the decision. Slick, what do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, this is just a weird matchup for me. I think the rightful side, probably if you really want to think about all-around minute winning and all-around game plan, is probably the Castaneda side. I just told myself I'm not really betting on Gutierrez because we've seen in his last fight that outside of landing 32 leg kicks, he just doesn't really have an all-around game plan. You know, he's one of those guys that rely on striking defense. And then you got a guy in John Castaneda that could really get the fight going. I like his blitzes in the sense that if he gets those blitzes going, he's going to get close to Chris Gutierrez, be able to put him against the cage. And as this fight goes on, I think Castaneda really favors him unless he gets his leg chewed off. But I just think there's not going to be much distance. And I would say it's a bigger cage in the T-Mobile Arena. I believe, I think this is in the T-Mobile Arena, so probably a way bigger cage a little bit bigger than the Apex. But I think maybe lean Castaneda by decision, but probably put the over 2.5 for a fight to go to decision as a parlay piece. Both guys pretty durable. Both guys really don't have that finishing equity. Both guys have good cardio, so.
There you go. And in the big cage, T-Mobile Arena, great point too. More space, more room to move, perhaps more decisions. Gipper's Picks likes Gutierrez's decision. He likes the over 2.5 too. It's minus 325. That's parlayable. Shout out my guy Gipper's Picks. I'm doing an MMA show with him tomorrow. Super jacked up for that one. All right, guys. One more fight to talk about on this card, and it's Alex Morono, the biggest underdog at plus 575, taking on Carlos Leal, minus 850. Shocked that Rufy's not the biggest favorite on this card. It's Carlos Leal coming off a loss where he was robbed blind against Rinat Fakhretdinov. I was thanking my lucky stars. I had Rinat in a parlay. That parlay actually lost anyway. It was a two-legger. And I said, you know what? I don't deserve to win that. It should have lost. That money was cursed. So Renat, they was that in Saudi Arabia or Abu Dhabi, I believe. I mean, they absolutely bailed Fakhretdinov out. He maybe won a round, maybe one round. Leal beat the piss out of him, and Leal showed that he's a physical striker. He's got good takedown defense. He warded off a relentless grappler in Fakhretdinov, and he put a beating on him. He was wearing it everywhere. Beat up his legs, beat him to the body, cut him open on the face. So I understand why he's a big favorite. I don't really see how Morono is. What is Morono going to do? Stay bouncy and throw it in and out of range and mix in takedowns? I know he's got good experience, but plus, I think Leal could beat him up too. I think Leal knocks him out. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Morono's the oldest 35-year-old in the UFC. Guy's like 50 in UFC years. And yeah, I think that Carlos Leal absolutely got robbed. I was with you on the right side of the robbery. I'm not sure whether or not I won my parlay. I feel like we probably lost it because we didn't deserve to win it. But then again, maybe it was one of those days where they gave it to us. Carlos Leal, man, I've been watching this guy for a while, man, in the LFA. I think he had some fights in the PFL, if I'm not mistaken. Man, I like this guy. They are literally feeding Alex Morono straight to a wolf. I don't really understand why, but hey, man, if he's willing to take the fight, just lost to D-Rod, Nico Price before that, pathetic. Other losses before that, Joakim Buckley, good loss, but his wins are to nobody that's good nowadays. Court McGee, maybe 10 years ago. Tim Means, the Dirty Bird, I love him, but not necessarily a great victory there. Carlos Leal, man, he's an up-and-comer. Like we just saw, he really did actually beat Rinat Fakhretdinov. To me, that's a great win, although Renat's a little overrated. But yeah, give me Carlos Leal. You can parlay him, feel free. This guy's definitely going to get the job done. You know what's really hard, though, is to knock out Alex Morono. He doesn't really get knocked out a lot. So I do think this is going to be a Carlos Leal domination, but it's probably going the distance. And that's going to be some good plus money, too. I bet you can get Carlos Leal by points because they're going to think that he's finishing him. Probably at a good ticket.
Interesting. Yeah, you get a minus 750 favorite, 850 favorite. The assumption is going to knock him out, which was my prediction, but maybe he takes a decision. Morono has shown toughness before, and you can get really good odds on someone that everyone thinks is going to wash him if Morono can hang tough. Slick, do you think Leal washes him? Like Gipper says, he's fought Sadibou Sai in the PFL. He's got some good experience, so brings that in here against his most experienced opponent yet, Morono. How do you think he matches up?
Yeah, the difference between Sadibou Sai and that fight going to decision is that Sadibou Sai is probably one of the most boring fighters we ever seen, unless he lands some crazy kick. And then we go, ooh, because that guy makes some of the most boringest fights in the PFL that we have ever seen. But he lands that crazy kick, and we be like, oh, my God, But this is just a fight that I was watching a couple interviews on Leal. And me personally, I really think that he's going to come in here with some vengeance in him. And he just doesn't want the fight to go to the judges. He will put everything in his power for the fight to not go to the judges. And, this is a fight that Morono is probably one of the most hittable guys that we have seen Leal fight. One thing that we know about Rinat Fakhretdinov is that he was getting into competitive stuff about that. But, man, does he not really get hit clean? He shoots for a takedown damn near every minute. That's not Alex Morono's game. Alex Morono is more of an opportunistic guy with the subs. He waits for you to shoot takedowns and that's why he gets those guillotines and stuff like that. Leal is not going to do – I'm going to tell y'all right now, Leal is going to come in here and he will put everything in his shots from the starting bell. He is going to come in here and he's – we're talking about – Morono is pretty durable. He just hasn't really fought power punches. And when he has, he's been put to sleep. We've seen Chaos William put him to sleep. We've seen Santiago Ponzinibbio put him to sleep in that third round. He just really hasn't fought outside of Joaquin Buckley that put a 10-8 beating on him in that third round. And I say to myself every time, whenever I have a KO bet and Jason Herzog is in the ring, that KO bet is damn near lost because this guy waits for you to die for him to stop a fight. So, if Jason Herzog wasn't the ref for that fight, probably other refs probably would have put a stop in that Joaquin Buckley fight. And he just hasn't really fought the type of power punches Leal is. I think Leal is going to come in here, put a beating on him, and the fight does not go to decision. But Leal by KO. I just don't think this fight gets to the third round with Morono not coming there with an ounce of wrestling.
Yeah, I think he's gonna have to wrestle to stay safe. I think Leal like rips an uppercut that buckles his knee, something like that at some point. All right, guys, that's UFC 313, the Darce episode. We got a lot of you guys in the chat. I appreciate Gippers. Appreciate all my guys out here. Nick Frey, my guy, freaking who's here? Jeff Hatley, always every single week. Darce fam in the mix is much appreciated. Smash the like on your way out. We went through all of our picks. Plus Bus, Slick Report, Brasco Breakdown, a parlay, and hopefully if you guys are tailing, we can cash for you. More UFC to come, guys. The lineup just keeps rolling, so we'll see you here every single week. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and until next week, let's make some more money. On behalf of myself, Slick, and Mr. Plus, this is the Darce Pod, and Cal on the ones and twos. Good luck. Let's cash. Peace.
Jasmine Jasnovici is here. Don't forget to tap into the Darce podcast.
The Darce choke is a submission executed from the front headlock position. It involves encircling the opponent's neck with the crook of one's arm, while the other arm wraps around the opponent's arm, applying pressure, leading to a tap or unconsciousness.
Tap into the Darce podcast.